What's up, y'all? Sean G locked in. Sean G locked in. Sean G locked in. Follow me on all my platforms. Hurry up. Go do it now. Hurry up. Go right now. Instagram, Podcast with Soul. TikTok, The Podcast with Soul. YouTube, The Podcast with Soul. Spotify, The Podcast with Soul. Make no mistake about it. Sean Combs, Puffy, Puff Daddy, Diddy, P. Diddy, Love. He beat the feds at trial. Puffy took the feds to trial, risking his life. He was facing life without the possibility of parole, triggering the asset forfeiture clause. The United States government foreclosing on his house in Miami, $50 million. The house in LA, Sean John, all of the publishing from that. Bad Boy Records, all of the publishing from that. Bank accounts, assets, Janet Combs, but everything. And his children and his mother would have been in a horrible financial situation. I don't know their financial situation, but if Puffy gets convicted of the RICO, it's not a good day financially for him and his family. But a jury said, "We don't believe your case, Southern District of New York. We reject your evidence, and we think all of your witnesses are lying." We find Puffy, Sean Combs, not guilty of racketeering conspiracy. We find Sean Combs not guilty of sex trafficking. He beat him at trial. Me, Sean G, I was there every single day in the courtroom, the overflow courtroom on the 24th floor. I missed maybe 4 to 5 days tops. I saw the whole trial. I saw the Southern District of New York, who's supposed to be the epitome of prosecution in the United States. They're supposed to be the standard, the bar. I saw them cheat during the trial every single day. I saw the prosecution engage in prosecutorial misconduct. I saw the Southern District of New York introduce witnesses that committed perjury on the stand and gave them immunity deals from committing perjury, immunity from prosecution for whatever they testified to on the stand, provided they didn't tell a lie. But only they got to be the judge, the prosecution got to be the judge as to if they were lying or not. Deontay, hey Deontay girl, hey girl. Deontay suing Puffy for $10 million. Perjury on the stand. Kid Cudi, perjury on the stand. These are all Southern District of New York witnesses. Puffy didn't call not one witness. He used their witnesses. Dawn Richards, perjury on the stand. Cassie, perjury on the stand. Cassie, perjury in her civil suit. Jane Doe, perjury on the stand. Mia, perjury on the stand. Breonna Bogelin, perjury on the stand. And the jury acquitted Puff. protecting his assets, protecting his family from financial ruin. Before the trial, the Southern District of New York was going into MDC Brooklyn, shaking down the prison, and the COs would call to the prosecutors and say, do you want us to go in and shake down Puffy's cell exclusively? Or either the Southern District of New York would call the COs and say, go shake down that nigga cell exclusively, and the COs would. And they went and found notes of Puffy meeting with Mark Agnifilo, Tenny Garagos, Nicole Westmoreland, Xavier Donaldson, Brian Steele, Tenny Garagos, Alexander Shapiro, Anna Estevello, Jason Driscoll, Jonathan Bach, and they took pictures of his notes, the COs, and sent them back to the prosecutors, which is against the law. And Alexander Shapiro raised this during the trial. The Southern District of New York used 7 of their 9 voir dire peremptory challenges when selecting the jury on black jurors. A peremptory strike is each side, the prosecution and the defense, is afforded 9 peremptory strikes, meaning that when they were interviewing the jurors to see who they were going to select to be on the jury, 9 times you can say, I don't want that juror, and you don't have to give a reason. After the 9 times, the 10th time and going forward, every time you say, I don't want that juror, you have to give a reason why. The Southern District of New York used 7 of their 9 on black jurors, 82%, I think if the math is good, 81.7%, something like that. Puffy still beat him. They got rid of a black juror in week number 5 of the trial. Puffy still beat him. They still lost. I was in the courtroom. The prosecution had 6 prosecutors. More prosecutors than ever on any case in the history of the Southern District of New York. No case has had that many assistant U.S. attorneys. They had 6. And then they had 2 or 3 more chilling in the back, senior level, advising the line prosecutors on what to do. And the unlimited resources of the United States government behind it. Puffy marshaled his resources, and he hired 10 lawyers, 11 lawyers, and he kicked their ass at trial. He didn't call not one witness for his defense. The jury agreed with him. Puffy's legal team made the Southern District of New York prosecutors look like employees you hire from a temporary service. You know how you got your regular employees, and when your regular employee is out sick or goes on vacation, you go to a temp agency and hire a temp employee that you got to bring them in and teach them and learn them. That's the way Smizer, Slavic, Johnson, Maureen Comey, that's the way all of the prosecutors looked when you saw them matched up against Puffy's lawyers. You could see it in their body language that they were in awe of Puffy's lawyers. Puffy's lawyers ran a classroom on trial law, had witnesses crying, breaking them down. So just because this judge engaged in conduct, judicial misconduct at sentencing by using acquitted conduct to enhance a defendant who was the first offender, no criminal history, first offense, and enhancing that defendant 13 levels based on conduct that had nothing to do with what he was charged with. It's not a win because he got sent to prison. It's not a win when the Department of Justice issues a manual that says, for the last 75 years, we don't prosecute cases where there's no financial gain. It's not a commercial sex ring, a commercial prostitution ring. It has to be a money-making venture in order for us to prosecute. They did it anyway. They don't get points for that. The Southern District of New York does not get points because they were able to sentence Puff to 50 months. They cheated again. But what the Southern District of New York has lost is they have lost all their credibility, all of their integrity, all of their panache as being elite level prosecutors. Puffy's money, Puffy's lawyers, the witnesses, the evidence showed that the Southern District of New York, the elite level of prestige and professionalism, is willing to cheat at trial and engage in prosecutorial misconduct and over-sentence defendants. The whole world saw it. And let me say this. If they were to run the trial back and get new prosecutors, they can go get the best prosecutors they can find. It's still not going to beat Puffy and Puffy's lawyers. Still not going to. So Puffy won in this case. He won. He's a winner. He's been in prison already, 13 months. He's going to go to the RDAP program, which is the drug program. That's going to knock 18 months off his sentence. He's going to get credit for good time. He'll probably do another 15 to 17 months in prison, and he'll be out. Still a young man with a renewed focus and a renewed vigor. And let me say this. As a foundational Black American man, as a black man, as a nigga, I wonder how many other brothers, how many other niggas the Southern District of New York has buried and engaged in prosecutorial misconduct and sent them to prison on extended sentences that weren't warranted. But because these brothers didn't have no money, we don't know who they are or where they at. Because if they did it to Puff, they've done it before. This wasn't their first time. This is what they do. And as a foundational Black American man, I'm glad he beat the Southern District of New York. It made me happy. It made me happy to show and be exposed that y'all lack integrity. But the sun, moon, and stars along with Puffy's money and his resources, along with Puffy's lawyers, told the whole world, showed the whole world that you got to fight back. You got to fight the power. And that integrity never went out of style. Podcast was sold.